Is there any thought about moving the Baltimore Colts?
I don't know where all this comes from. Now, somebody started this. I don't know who did it, all right? We are negotiating, and I will do this with Don Schaefer today, closer to a lease here. Now, why would I want to go to Arizona?
It has been an incredible week, as you no doubt know. Since last Saturday, the fate of the Baltimore Colts has been a political, financial, and emotional football, and it's still not over.
Robert Irsay couldn't have gone more out of his way to make himself the devil in this play.
That there was on TV with the snow falling and the Mayflower van was being packed up and headed out. I guess it was the 11 o'clock news. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but yeah.
I said, if I have an intention of moving the team, I would tell you about it.
Okay.
Now, I flew in 6,000 miles almost to come over here just for him. For him.
Where are you coming from?
I came from Vegas, San Francisco, and you could check the FAA, Quality Tower.
Irsay was a cantankerous, difficult, hard-drinking person. He did not get along with Schaefer, and Schaefer did not get along with him.
Only came because of him. And I told you I flew a lot of miles today.
He was very, very concerned, he being Irsay, that Baltimore was not capable of continuing to support an NFL franchise.
If you love the Colts, why didn't you treat me right?
He didn't like Memorial Stadium at all. Most owners in the NFL at that time were flexing their muscles and wanting to get out of dual-purpose stadiums. For many, many years, up until the 1980s, virtually every single stadium was a dual-purpose stadium, baseball, football, in those cities that had it. Kansas City had broken that mold with Arrowhead Park, with one baseball and one football stadium on the same campus. And then all of a sudden, every NFL owner wanted that. So when they were unable to reach an agreement, and back and forth Schaefer and Irsay went, without ever telling Schaefer, he was packing up all of the goods and memorabilia of the Colts and all their equipment, packing it onto a Mayflower truck.
Jim told me to go home and get my personal life in order, but to be back at the complex by 10 o'clock that night. That's when the trucks were supposed to arrive. I was young and single. I didn't have much of a personal life, so it was really easy for me. It was exciting, but also a night full of anxiety. You know, you didn't really know what the future held. And you know, at 10 o'clock that night, trucks started rolling in. They had their lights off. We were kind of in a rural location, and it was all meant to be done secretly under the cover of night.
I remember that morning when I met the mayor, and he was very, very agitated, of course, because at the time he never expected the Colt owner, Robert Irsay, to leave. Mr. Irsay, they were back and forth. Mr. Irsay wanted a new ballpark, wanted a new football stadium, and made it clear. But he would tell Schaefer, Mr. Schaefer, that he's not going to move the team. He's just not going to move it. There's plenty of video on that he said publicly he won't move the team, but apparently he was already in negotiations to do that, and he took off.
The city was in mourning. It was as if the city had been told that it was a second-class city, that it wasn't worthy of an NFL franchise, that its mayor was powerless, and that the fans who had poured their hearts out to the Colts and Johnny Unitas and all of the great heroes of the day was now an afterthought and you know, somebody's museum.
When you have to sneak out in the middle of the night, don't inform your vested employees of your intentions. I don't want to work for people like that. I think these were very poor tactics with employees. Like I am entering my 11th year with the Baltimore Colts, and to not inform people of what's going to happen, I think is totally despicable.
People were truly upset. They were shocked, they were surprised, and it was not only sports fans. There was a sense of something that affected the identity of the community.
I figured I'd take a look at the complex one last time. It's the sneakiest thing I've ever seen done in my life. I can't believe it. In 14 years, I missed one football game, and I just don't know what I'm going to do this fall, to tell you the truth.
It was all of a sudden taken away, and taken away in a very unsettling manner. And our mayor at the time kind of voiced the frustration of the community in his own inimitable way.
The Colts had to sneak out of town at night. It degrades a great tradition of the city in football.
And basically, we were kind of crushed.
What are your thoughts right now?
It's sad. I'm glad it's over. I'm just very sad right now.
Were you a fan as well as an employee?
I think I missed one game in 4 years.
The dilemma that we faced was that then Memorial Stadium was owned by the city. And this was kind of a product of the times. Memorial Stadium, Baltimore couldn't possibly supply the capital funding to keep the facility up to date, and it was dual use. It was baseball and football, and it didn't really satisfy either quite so well. So the entire state, in effect, except for maybe the Washington area, suffered real trauma with the loss of a sports franchise.
It was like losing a person in your life almost. That's how much the team meant to the city, because the Colts were tremendously popular.
Are you going to go on wearing that hat?
Absolutely. We're still going down our convention in June in Ocean City to Corrals. We're not going to stop just because the team's gone. The band didn't stop in 50 and 51, so why should we stop?
The discussion that day evolved over, was it too late to put in an ordinance and call for eminent domain on the team itself as it was on its way to Indianapolis, to see if we could at least get it in the court system to retain it. But it was too late. Once they crossed state lines, they didn't belong to Baltimore anymore.
Then Mayor Schaefer understood the value of a professional sports franchise, baseball or football in those days, to the communal identity of a region. He himself was not especially a strong sports fan, but he understood what it meant to knitting a community together. So we went through this trauma with the Colts, and I think he knew that there was no way that we could afford the loss of the Orioles.
Well, nothing was more important to William Bellin Schaefer than Baltimore City. And even as governor, it was very clear that that was his priority. But I spent time talking to him even after he was in office about the loss of the Colts. And really, even when his memory was fading, he could give you word-for-word conversation that he had had with Irsay at the time when the Colts left.
I said, now, I'm not a miracle man. I can only do certain things. I can't build you a new stadium. I can't get you $15 million tomorrow. I'll try again, see what I can do.
So you know the famous Mayflower story in the middle of the night. And other people told me what it was like the next few days in City Hall when they left. Schaefer was stung at a depth that I can't possibly explain by the loss of the Colts. It burned a hole in his psyche, and it changed him, I think, as a politician. And that was one of the things that drove him. It's not going to happen again. I'm not going to be the mayor, governor that loses two major sports franchises. I am not going to let that happen. And I think that was a driving force. And he also believed that he was the guy. He was the guy who would suffer the loss under the Colts, and he was the guy who was going to keep the Orioles here. And no one else was going to get in the way of that at the end of the day. And that was personal to him.